Chuck Todd asked Katy Tur a very specific question with regards to, is this something that should have been expected from Donald Trump? How could this happen? Is the only person that's going to hold Donald Trump accountable, or the only institution that's going to hold Donald Trump accountable, Facebook, who has banned him until, I think, till he's out of office? Well, her answer was perfect, because what she did is she enumerated all the evil that this guy has done. But not only that, she has enumerated that he was allowed to do it, that his party, the Republican Party, were complicit in everything that he did. Check this out. I mean, I have yet to hear anybody line it up like this, the way she just did it. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Katy Tur, I mean, can you imagine that the only accountability in the next 13 days is from Facebook?
No. I mean, yes, I can. That is the state that we are currently in. But I think the accountability stretches far past Donald Trump and should stretch into his voters and also the Republican Party. Listen, this wasn't 2 days building. This wasn't 2 weeks building or 2 months building. This has been building for years, going back to his campaign starting in 2015. He has repeatedly claimed that everything is against him. He talked about how this election would be rigged if he didn't win before the election happened. He talked about how the virus was a hoax meant to damage him. He talked about how impeachment was a hoax. The Russia investigation was a hoax. Back in 2016, before that election, he said that it would be rigged if he lost. His voters back then were ready to do whatever it took. Back then, we did stories on this. We talked to those voters. There were concerns about that election. He told supporters to punch protesters at his rallies, incited violence. He threatened the media, sicked his supporters against the media, Gold Star families, federal judges, anybody who he believed was standing in his way. This has been building, Chuck and Andrea, for years. And yes, these resignations that we're seeing today, great, better late than never. But at the same time, where have you been? You have seen this coming. You knew who this man was. You didn't wake up today and suddenly realize that he was dangerous. This has been a part of who he has been since the very start. And remember, these Republican lawmakers, many of his own staffers, were against him in the beginning. They called him a demagogue. They said he was dangerous in 2015 and 2016. After the Access Hollywood tape, they said they could never support him. And yet they did, and they went along. They ignored tweets. Oh, I didn't see it. They ignored statements. They equivocated. They said we were blowing it up. And this is what resulted.
And this is what resulted. In other words, you keep allowing him to do a little bit more, get a little bit more evil, get a little bit more violent, get away with all these things. And eventually, you think you can get away with anything, so you send several thousand people over to the Capitol to create a huge insurrection, and you start to tear things apart. What is interesting, and I heard this earlier on, it's that these people applied a whole lot of damage to a federal building. Now, these are his people. Remember, he said anybody who desecrates a federal building or federal monument or federal anything should spend at least 10 years in jail. Is he ready for those sycophants, for those enablers of his, to go and spend 10 years in jail for breaking the glass, for breaking down the doors to get into the Senate, for doing all these things, for this insurrection? Are you ready to have your people pay the price? This guy is a clear and present danger for the entire country, and to think he has the nuclear codes, the only expectation, what we must continue to hope for, is that those people he may give commands to will simply ignore them. Else, we are in for a hell of a next several days before he's kicked completely out of office. This guy was led on by his party. This guy was led on by the media. And because they treated him with a particular degree of privilege, somebody who does not know how to use the privilege they have been given, they have been endeared with. at some point in time, they use it in a manner like he did this week. Shame on Donald Trump, but more than that, shame on the Republican Party, shame on the mainstream media, and shame on all of those who turn their backs when he's doing what he does. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.